Okay, we're in the Pathways of Virtuous Attributes, Chapter 8, on the Sefer of the Yanuka. Let's go. Ikar hayetzer hara sheish ba'adam hu mitzad yisod ha'afar. The main essence of the evil inclination that exists within a human has its foundation in the earth, in the soil. We know we were created from. Ki adam morkav me arma, because a human is carved out, he's made up of arma as an acronym for 4 different things. Eish, ruach, mayim, and afar. Fire, wind, water, and earth. These are the 4 things that make up a human. Sorry. V'ikar ha'adam hu min ha'afar. And the main essence of a human is, out of those 4, comes from the earth. L'chein ikar yitzro hu min ha'afar. And therefore, the main part of our evil inclination is from the earth. If we're made up of the earth, our main inclination, evil inclination, comes from the thing we're made of. Shemimenu bala adam habatala. And from this reason that we're connected to the earth is where the attribute comes into humanity of wanting to negate ourselves, to not be alive, just to be numb. You know the Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb. Ha'atzlus, ha'kvedus, v'ha'atzvus. Laziness and heaviness and depression and sadness all come from this desire for us to negate our existence and not be here. And all that is because we're from the soil. This explains the drug epidemic. People don't want to be in existence. They'd rather just disappear. V'chol davar shu nechshav kerichuk me'Hashem yisbarach hine gam hu murkav me'arma. And all the things that are considered something that would distance you from God have to be carved from one of these 4 things. Eish, ruach, mayim, afar. Fire, wind, water, or soil. V'ikar chelek shel richuk me'Hashem yisbarach yagam hu ikaru miyasod ha'afar. And the main portion of what separates us from God, the main thing that separates from God, also has its main thing in soil. So this is what we've learned, what we understand so far. V'zenikra avoda miyiro madregas eved. And this is called slavery and serving from fear, serving God just from fear, none of the other attributes. As we mentioned, that tzaddikim serve from fear, but they have all the other attributes. This is just serving from just fear, and you have a status as a slave. It's like you're just doing this because you're a slave. Slave doesn't want to do it. He's just doing it because he knows he'd rather go to heaven than hell, but otherwise this is terribly annoying. Because this person that we're discussing, their body is not running after the Torah on its own. Ela birdia va'avdus. It's like pulling teeth. It's like slavery, hard work. It's like laborious for this person. Shu mitzad yira, and this comes from the attribute of fearing God, of fear. U'madregas eved yesh tov v'ra, and regarding the level of being like a slave to God, there is good and evil there. U'lekach eino chayav ela b'mitzvah she'en azman grama k'muva b'meseches chagiga. Therefore, regarding a slave, and perhaps this person we're speaking about, they're not obligated in the commandments that are time-bound commandments. If there's something time-bound to the mitzvah, like you have to pray between this hour or do something by this time, slave is patur, he is exempt from them. As we see in Masechet Chagiga, it says in the Talmud, Mipnei she'enu yachol arutz acharei Hashem yisbarach la'amod tadir lefanav yisbarach b'chol shah. So we learned this concept from the Talmud, and what's the reason? Because they are not always available and free to run after God and to continuously stand before Him all the hours. A slave can't do that, so he's exempt from certain commandments. V'chol zeh mipnei she'ein me'ir bo or Hashem baruch hu. And all of this is simply because the light of God is not able to be lit inside this person. V'yesh bo shorish hara shu mitzad ha'afar k'mo she'amru Maseches Baba Kama. And there's like a central essence of evil within, which is rooted in the soil, which is found in this person, as we read in Talmud Bava Kama, Shavadim hukshu lekarkaos, that slaves are considered like land, are connected to land. Meaning, if you want to make a deposit with a movable object, something that could be transferred, land cannot be used. Land is not considered a movable object, and just like land is not, slaves are also not considered a movable object. K'mo she'amru Maseches Kedushin. And like it says in the Talmud Kedushin, Asar kabin shel shena yardu le'olam. 10 portions, 10 measures of sleep descended into this world. Tisha natlu avadim, and slaves took 9 out of these 10 portions. They reside in slaves. Shenatlu tisha kabin shel atzlus, and they took 9 portions of this like laziness. Don't think about slaves as someone like from the transatlantic slave trade that was captured by force or whatever. I believe the slavery we're talking about here is, let's say someone stole and can't pay back, he becomes a slave. And then if he likes his slave life after a certain amount of time, 7 years, he could actually have a process to make himself forever a slave to this human. So are these people lazy? Well, he stole to get in the position in the first place, and when he was given an opportunity to have a free life, he was like, no, I'm just going to stay a slave. It's like, oh, life is so easy for me when I could just not have to worry about creating and I could just be told what to do. We're saying that's a form of sleep and laziness. Ubichdei sheyisbatel hara misod ha'afar, and in order that we should cancel out the evil that's within us, which is rooted in the ground that we come from, tzarich sheyayer bo'esh kodesh, we have to light ourselves up with a holy fire. Shiha mavatelis kol hamoinim la'adam mitzad yisod ha'afar. And this holy fire that we were discussing and we will discuss cancels out all the things that hold humans back regarding them being carved from the soil. So the essence of ground inside you that makes you depressed and not want to live, that can get canceled out with a holy fire. As we keep going, we're really going to learn what this holy fire is and how we can light it. So let's get lit. Amen.